And Galaxy Quest, what started as a line at a rally, could now be becoming a reality.
I said, maybe we need a new force. We'll call it the Space Force. And I was not really serious.
The administration now asking for $8 billion, I'm going to say that again, $8 billion over the next 5 years to launch the first new branch of the military since 1947. What's the goal?
It is not enough to merely have an American presence in space. We must have American dominance in space.
Oh, my goodness. We begin this hour. The Trump administration is proposing to take the U.S. Armed Forces to infinity and beyond. Vice President Mike Pence unveiled the administration's plan to create a sixth branch of the U.S. military by 2020, known as a Space Force. The administration is asking Congress for $8 billion. I remind you, there's not clean water yet in Flint, Michigan.
And just as we've done in ages past, the United States of America, under his leadership, will meet the emerging threats on this new battlefield.
I know it seems like it was sort of absurd, but he was just glad that nobody was asking him about Paul Manafort. I want to... Trump's Space Force would be the first new branch of our military in over 70 years. That is assuming the administration can actually get this plan launched. Vice President Mike Pence laid out details at the Pentagon, promising the Space Force would be established by 2020, adding that this was about American dominance in space.
The space environment has fundamentally changed in the last generation. What was once peaceful and uncontested is now crowded and adversarial. The United States Space Force will strengthen our security. It will ensure our prosperity. And it will also carry American ideals into the boundless expanse of space.
After the announcement, the president's re-election campaign solicited donations from supporters and asked them to vote on a logo for the Space Force. Priorities. Astronauts and Republicans like Ben Sass mock the idea, even using Beastie Boys lyrics to make fun of this program on Twitter. It's amazing. But if you take criticism aside, it does seem that the administration is moving forward. But the beginning stages of this program come with a very hefty price tag. The vice president is calling for Congress to authorize an initial $8 billion for this effort in next year's defense spending bill. But just think about this. $8 billion could go a long way to fund other desperately needed programs at in our country. Thanks to the president's separation policy, Health and Human Services has already spent $40 million for housing, caring, and reuniting the families they separated. Much more will be needed for crucial programs. How about the Flint water crisis? You remember, the infrastructure catastrophe. It is now in its fourth year. People still don't have clean water. Children. Well, it could be solved with just $55 million to replace the pipes. Meanwhile, Veterans Affairs is facing a $3 billion budget shortfall, with reports of some veterans waiting years for care and at least one VA hospital having to use rusty medical equipment. And the biggest deficit of all, the U.S. federal budget deficit for next fiscal year is at a whopping $985 billion. But no, let's spend some more money playing space cowboys.